Graduated from India in 2022, and then I moved to Canada in 2024, wherein I took my ADAT exam in May 2025, where I scored 650 on my first attempt. Now, I think preparing for this journey can be a little bit overwhelming, and I'm sure you might be feeling the same before starting this journey. So, the main goal of hosting this webinar today is to walk you through all the strategies, tips, and also the mistakes which I made during my journey so that you can walk away today with a better roadmap and a strategy to tackle this exam. So, without any further ado, let's start. So, the breakdown of this webinar. So, here are the key highlights of this webinar today. So, firstly, we'll be covering the breakdown of this exam, which is very important to know. So, this exam is basically divided into three sections, and we'll get more into it in further slides. Next is the do's and don'ts of each section, followed by effective strategies, which worked for me. So, herein I'll be sharing all my insights throughout my preparation journey, and followed by how much time one should really dedicate for preparing for this exam. Now, this is a very important time because this is a very vast exam wherein a lot of information needs to be covered. So, dedicating adequate amount of time is very important. Next, we have what to expect on your actual exam day. So, herein I have tried to cover all the key essentials which you need to know before you sit for your exam. And lastly, how ConfiDentist ADAT course can benefit those who are feeling lost and confused, as I was not too long ago. Now, here's a brief overview of this exam. And also, I've tried to cover who are the candidates this exam is aimed at. So, ADAT exam has replaced AFK as a prerequisite for all Canadian dental schools starting from 2025 cycle. So, all the schools, Canadian dental schools, are now accepting ADAT as an application requirement instead of AFK as they earlier used to. And candidates can take this exam starting from March 1 to August 31st each year. So there's a specific window in which you can appear for this exam each year. Now, here's a breakdown of this exam wherein, like I was talking about, there are three sections. Firstly, the biomedical sciences, secondly, clinical sciences, and lastly, data research and evidence-based dentistry. So, biomedical sciences consists of 80 items. You'll have 95 minutes to answer your questions. Clinical sciences also consists of 80 items, but you'll have 90 minutes for answering. And lastly, data research section consists of 40 items, and you'll have 45 minutes for answering these. So let's talk about who takes this exam. So this is targeted at international dental graduates like us who wants to pursue DDS programs in Canada or in the US, and also practicing dentists who have already graduated or have completed their DDS degree and want to pursue postgraduate or specialty training in the US. So here's a further breakdown of each section. So I'd like to dive deeper into the breakdown of each section because it's very imperative to know how much weightage does each section carry, because that's how you'll be able to strategize your time accordingly. So, as we were talking earlier, biomedical sciences consists of 80 items, as you can see, and which are further divided into anatomic sciences, biochemistry and physiology, microbiology and pathology, dental anatomy and occlusion. So, here you have to, like, the key feature which I would want to highlight is that anatomic sciences alone consists of 20 items, and dental anatomy and occlusion consists of 20 items. So your focus should be more on anatomic sciences and dental anatomy. Like, these are the core topics which should be on your tips, and you should have a thorough understanding of each and every concept related to these topics. Now comes biochemistry and physiology, which together combine 20 items, and there will be people stressing over trivial things which they come across in biochemistry and physiology, like some topics where they feel stuck. But the key point here is that you don't have to waste much of your time stressing over things which you don't even know if you'll be seeing them on your exam. And nextly, same goes for microbiology and pathology here. These are going to be 20 items only. So I would suggest to dedicate more of your time on anatomic sciences and dental anatomy here. Next, coming on to clinical sciences. So these are the core subjects that we all study in our final year during our graduation. So here's endodontics, operative dentistry, oral surgery, oral diagnosis, orthodontics, periodontics, all these subjects that we cover during our final year. Now, the key fact here is that most people confuse this section with what the AFK exam covers. Now, this exam is very different from AFK format. Herein, you'll see a lot of case-based questions, a lot of questions wherein there'll be clinical photographs, x-rays, patient boxes given to you, and then you'll have to make a diagnosis of your own, and you should be thorough with treatment planning of each and every disease or condition that comes across. Lastly, data research and interpretation and evidence-based dentistry. This is a section which is a new section to most of us because we haven't studied this during our graduation years, and this is where most candidates feel lost and confused. So I'll be uncovering more about these sections in the further slides. So here's biomedical sciences. Now, firstly, as I've already stressed on the importance of anatomic sciences, there are going to be 20 items from this very subsection. And so I've tried to highlight what strategies I followed to tackle each of these sections. And I hope my strategies can work for you. So, firstly, your first approach should be to draw diagrams, like draw as much as diagrams as you can by your hand, be it on your notebook or your iPad. I mean, I can't stress it enough how important is it to actually have a deeper understanding of knowing each and every organ in detail. So, nextly, focus on head and neck anatomy more. So, I know the curriculum covers all the organs in the body, but your main focus should be on head and neck anatomy because that's where most of the questions come from. And thirdly, my advice would be to try and link different subjects together. For example, when you're studying anatomy, try to link with oral surgery. For example, if you're studying about the parotid gland, and you know that these are all the nerves, branches of the nerves crossing parotid gland. So you should relate with oral surgery while you're studying surgery, that how each nerve can get affected during a surgical procedure. So that is the way how you should go about it. And lastly, get your basics right. Like, don't just uh, focus on things you don't know. First, get the things you know should already be on your tips, and that's the way you should approach this. Like, it should be a stepping ladder, and your foundation should be strong, and then only you can dive deeper into all those topics. And I've listed some helpful resources for this section. So firstly, I abided to ConfiDentist note, and during my lectures with ConfiDentist also, our instructors were really keen with the knowledge of the concepts, and they used to highlight the things which they felt were a bit more important than rest of the information. And I made sure to highlight that information during the lecture and then dive deeper into other resources like first aid part one, wherein if you know that this section, this is something which your instructor highlighted during the lecture, so you can just go home, read about it in more detail. And thirdly, Atlas of Anatomy was a very helpful resource. If you're a visual learner, then this is a great resource for you. Next comes biochemistry and physiology. So, as I highlighted earlier, your focus should be more on anatomic sciences, but that does not mean yet that you undermine this section totally. I'm just saying that because here you're at least definite that you'll get 20 items from anatomy. Here the distribution can vary. It can be 8 questions from physiology, 12 questions from biochemistry, or vice versa. Nobody knows the actual structure of this exam because this exam is a bit different in that way. And so biochemistry is important, but just don't drown yourself into it. I feel like ConfiDentist booklet was more than enough for me in this, in my opinion. And I was able to cover all the important aspects for this section while just going through my notes. And also, like I highlighted earlier, try studying pharmacology along with physiology, try to make a mind map of all the topics that you're reading. For example, if you're studying about structure of a nephron, so you can actually link that with drugs acting on each structure of the nephron. What drugs act on ascending loop of Henle? What drug acts on collecting duct? So this is the way how you should be approaching this section. Next is watch a lot of YouTube videos because visual memory will stuck with you. So watching a lot of YouTube videos and actually visualizing what I was studying helped me in a great manner. Next, we have dental anatomy and occlusion. This section is a very high yield and scoring section. I would like to highlight that. And the tips that for this section are you have to be very thorough with each tooth's morphology, its anatomy, and clinical variations, especially to stress about clinical variations because this exam, what I encountered were there were a lot of questions about the differences between each tooth's morphology and anatomy. So they just like to ask questions on these topics. And next is permanent versus primary teeth. This should be on your tips. Understand clearly how a permanent tooth differs from its primary counterpart because a lot of questions, you will see a lot of questions from this very concept too. And also for this section, I stick to drawing diagrams, especially occlusal views, because when you're studying different teeth, different views, it can get a lot confusing. So it's better that you have just keep a notebook where you can draw each tooth's morphology on one page, and then it can serve as a very good revision guide uh, when your exam is approaching near, and you can just have a quick look at your notes and be good to go. And also, occlusion is a part where many candidates feel stuck. So I know it's tricky at first, but it's very manageable if you try to connect it with different practical concepts which we come across in orthodontics and prosthodontics. And also, the instructors made it so easy for me to understand that during my exam, I felt like I was super prepared to approach this section. Now, microbiology and pathology, here also there are going to be 20 items, but I'm not sure about the distribution because it varies with each exam. And so the key points here are that try to link microorganisms you come across with common oral diseases and conditions. So here your focus should be more on microorganisms which are prevalent in the oral cavity, especially which play a role in endodontic and periodontal diseases. For example, we come across red complex, orange complex bacteria. So these are the ones you should be focusing more on. I know microbiology section is a bit overwhelming because there's a lot to memorize, but here also you need to follow a strategic approach where you should first be very thorough with the microorganisms which are commonly found in the oral cavity rather than focusing on other diseases of the body. And in pathology, immunology is a key topic. There will be a lot of questions that you'll come across, and you need to be thorough with all the hypersensitivity reactions, anaphylaxis, type 1, type 2, type 3. So these are the topics which are most commonly asked. And lastly is to have a strong foundational knowledge of concepts like necrosis versus apoptosis, complement system, coagulation cascade, things like that. So now coming to the clinical sciences. So I know we feel comfortable with this section, but from what my experience, I felt like this section was the toughest section on my exam because there's a lot you need to decipher from the questions they are asking you. And also, there's a crunch of time because you've got only 90 minutes to answer 80 questions. And the questions are going to be long, like they're going to be long text, and they're going to give you OPGs, clinical photographs, patient boxes, and a lot of information is going to be thrown at you. So you need to have a lot of practice. I mean, I can't stress enough how much practicing questions and testing yourself from the get-go can benefit you in a longer run. So, my advice here would be firstly, practice, practice, and practice. You need to practice a lot of questions. You need to expose yourself to questions wherein there's a lot of information, where there are x-rays. You should be very thorough with actually diagnosing a condition right from seeing its clinical picture, and also also the histopathological findings that they'll give you. And secondly, my advice here would also be the same as I mentioned earlier. Try to club and correlate different subjects together. For example, like I mentioned earlier, pharmacology with pathology, and also here you can club oral surgery with anatomy and things like that. Thirdly, know your clinical guidelines inside out. So ADAT exam focuses a lot on questions wherein they'll test your knowledge regarding the clinical guidelines. For example, trauma guidelines, management of avulsed tooth, or how to go about if there's a case of serial extraction, what you'll do if you come across such a case. And fourth point is, like I mentioned, get comfortable with X-rays and expect a lot of questions. Almost every question will have an OPG or an X-ray attached. There'll be bite wings, cephs, clinical photographs. So all be prepared to get a lot of questions of this type. And last but not the least, my advice would be to think like a clinician, not just a student. So when you're going through something, just don't memorize or mug it up. Try to just dive deeper into the topic. Like, okay, this is the condition given to me. What will be the diagnosis? What will be the differential diagnosis? What's going to be my treatment plan for this? And what are the steps which are going to be involved in my treatment planning? So, this is how you have to be in your approach to this section. So, this is a very practical section. And if you have enough of practice for this section, I think you'll be good. Now, lastly, the section which everyone fears, it's data research, interpretation, and evidence-based dentistry. And the secret weapon here is also practice. So I can't stress enough, like, I'd like to share that I was so overwhelmed with this section that I just used to mug up everything, and then when the question used to come in front of me, I used to be blank, and used to be like, okay, what to do now? So the approach here which I followed was to practice question again and again. So if I used to get one answer right, I just didn't used to stop there. I used to keep going through that question again and again until I actually grasped the concept behind it. So this section is very, very conceptual. They're just gonna test your conceptual knowledge about it while you'll be going through the course, or if if you're preparing, then you'll come across a lot of formulas, a lot of mathematical equations and stuff like that. But it's not really about mugging up those formulas or memorizing them. It's actually to grasp the concept behind those formulas. So, as I've mentioned here, also don't just blindly memorize formulas, try to grasp the knowledge and actually have a firm grasp over the concepts. And here, my advice would be to pay extra attention to statistical tests. Like, if you don't know about it, you will get to know once you start with your preparation. You will come across a lot of tests like chi-square test, t-test, and a lot of analysis of various types. So there were a lot of questions relating to these statistical tests. And here also my advice is that just don't memorize that, okay, this is a situation and this is where I should be using this test. Just try to widen your horizons, try to dive deeper into the concepts, and once you are comfortable with your concepts, you have a firm grasp over your concepts, I think you can approach any question with full confidence. And lastly, like I mentioned, every question deserves more than one look. You should try to just keep going over and over the same question so that you're so confident that the strategy actually sticks into your brain, that you can approach every question with full confidence. Now, here I have summarized the effective strategies which I personally followed during my journey, and I hope you can benefit from all of these. So, firstly, is for don't get lost in random tips online. I know there are a lot of groups for this exam, and a lot of candidates post on Reddit or share their advice after taking the exam. but different test takers have different experiences. So just don't get lost following other people's advice. You should just stick to what works out for you. So make your own plan, make your own strategy, and just stick to it and believe in it, and you'll be good. And secondly, is to build a realistic routine where you can follow it for a longer run. I know people out there will tell you to study for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. And I think that's just not practical and you won't be able to keep up with it for a long time. So, what I used to do was I used to dedicate at least 4 hours a day just to get a quick understanding of what was taught in the lectures. And during the weekends, I just used to go do a quick run through of all the topics we've covered during the entire week. And I think it worked out pretty fine for me. So don't follow people who tell you that you have to study 10 hours, 11 hours to crack this exam. I think it's completely doable even if you dedicate a shorter period of time, but be consistent with it. Thirdly, is to protect your mental health. This is a very overwhelming exam, and the important aspect of this exam is that it's a very variable exam. Different test takers will have a different version of this exam. So you just can't compare yourself with others. And also, it's very essential to take breaks every now and then whenever you feel you're exhausted or this is getting too overwhelming for me. Just take a step back and reflect. And I think breaks every now and then is what fueled me to bounce back even stronger. Next is revision is your secret weapon. As I mentioned earlier, that I do used to devote time in studying, but at the end of the week, I made sure that I'm not gonna dive into newer topics. I'm just gonna stick to what I have learned throughout this week, and I'm just gonna revise it. And revision is actually your secret weapon. I mean, this is such an exam where a lot of information is going to be thrown at you, and if you're not revising it at revising it consistently, everything is going to be wiped off in no time. Trust me. Fifth is negativity and self-doubt are the biggest distractions. I know there will be times where you feel like, oh, this is too much for me or I can't do this. But just trust me, just be consistent, believe in your hard work, and actually put in the efforts. Once you actually put in the efforts, you are going to see the results. And the sixth point is simulate the exam conditions. Now, this is a very important point. I have seen candidates who have dedicated all their time and energy in preparing for this exam. They've practiced a lot of questions. They've done everything they can. But still they didn't get a good score because they actually didn't time themselves. So this exam tests your ability to answer questions in a stipulated amount of time. So you have to have practice of answering questions in a limited amount of time. So whenever you answering questions or just doing practice tests, just keep a timer and see in how much time are you able to answer those questions. Try to build this practice from early on, and this will help you in the longer run. Uh, Moving on, set micro goals for yourself. You just don't have to say that, oh, I'll finish entire pathology today. That's just, I think, absurd. One can never achieve such a goal. So set goals which you think you can achieve. Like, be realistic about it. Uh, you can divide your study schedule in shorter chunks And when you're able to overcome and actually checklist that topic, you will feel a great sense of satisfaction. So I would suggest that set small achievable goals rather than just setting up unrealistic expectations from yourself. And last but not the least, you have to rest. Please don't drown yourself into studying whole day. Sleep is very important. A well-rested brain remembers much better. So please just don't compromise on your sleep at all. So this is a very important questions which might cross a lot of people's minds. How much time you should really dedicate to this exam? So I would say when it comes to ADAT, there is no such thing as over preparing because once you actually get into it, you will realize that how vast of information you have to remember. And for covering that load of information, you actually need time. And as I mentioned earlier, that you have to set small achievable goals, and for that, and you also need time for revision also. So for that, you need a proper timeline. You need to dedicate adequate amount of time for your preparation so that you don't feel like you're rushing into it or you're being hurried into it. And I feel like those people who do it, who just for example, they say that, okay, I'm just going to give 1 month of my time to this exam, and then by the end of it they're just scared of actually appearing or sitting for the test. So this shouldn't what you should be following. So what I've seen is people who score well, that is above 600, dedicate at least 3 months to their preparation. And by that, I mean like 3 months of their entire time devoting to studying. And lastly, if you, while preparing for this exam, if you feel like, okay, I think I need more time, you can always postpone your exam. There's an option of postponing your exam. Even I did that while during my preparation because I was feeling like I was forgetting stuff. And then my mentor in our course, she suggested me that you can always postpone your exam if you're feeling like you're not ready. So if you feel like you need more time, you can just listen to your gut and go for it. Now, this is a very important part. These are here I've tried to highlight the exam day essentials, like what you must know on the day of your actual exam. So firstly, you should aim to reach the center 30 to 40 minutes early because this will give you time to calm your nerves and you can sit for your exam with a calmer mindset. Secondly, you have to carry your two valid IDs with signature. It could be your health card or your PR card or your passport, whatever you prefer. And next is be prepared for your biometric palm scan. They do a palm scan to register you in their system. Next is you will have two optional breaks during the exam. So first section will be biomedical sciences. And once you've completed that section, you will get a 10-minute optional break. You can either choose to skip that or you can take that break. And I would suggest to take that break because that's very important. Go hydrate yourself, take coffee or snacks with yourself on the day of the exam, and so that you can come back for clinical sciences section with a sharper and more energized mindset. So there will be another break after the clinical sciences section, and that is optional too. You can either skip it or choose to take the break. But I would suggest to take the second break too, because this is a 4 and a hour long exam and it gets really tiring by the end of it. So I would highly recommend taking both the breaks. And you may also take an unscheduled break between the sections. So this is if you uh, are finished with a section before time. So you can just ask the invigilator that you want to take a break and go for it. And sixth point is very important. If you feel like you're feeling like, okay, I'm stuck on this question and I just don't know how to go about it, then just flag it. By flagging, I mean you can actually just flag it and revisit it later by the end of the section. So that's very important to do because you are the time is ticking and you just can't waste your time stuck on a single question. So if you feel even a slight bit of doubt on some question, just flag it and move on, and just come and revisit your flagged questions at the end of the section, and then I think you'll be able to approach those questions with better clarity. Seventh point, read every question carefully and thoroughly. And this is very important. After giving my exam, I realized that I missed some key points which were highlighted in patient boxes or CEFs uh, or the histopathological findings that they give you. I know it's I know it's very common to get lost when a lot of information is thrown at you, but please try and read every question thoroughly. I mean, you have to scan for points that will lead you to the right answer. That's exactly what they want you to do. And mostly there will be questions wherein you can easily rule out two points out of the four MCQs that they've given you, and it all comes down to two answers which will appear so similar that you just won't be able to make out which one to choose. And here, what you have to do is to go through the question again and scan for points that will lead you to the right answer. And followed by, don't overlook key details, which I just mentioned. Be very thorough in reading the question and don't miss out on key details. And lastly, save at least 5 to 8 minutes at the end of each section to revisit and review any of your flagged questions. So, this was all that I needed to share about my journey, and I hope you'll benefit from my insights and try and incorporate some of the strategies that I mentioned. And I had a wonderful time discussing all this with you. And I hope that you would benefit from what all I shared today. Now, I'd like Mona to step in and share more about the ConfiDentist ADAT course.
Doctor, do you mind? Because we also have a Q&A session. So I know, first of all, I need to thank you to Dr. Navlin for your valuable insight and your expertise and your clear explanation made the webinar really incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. So, but please stay tuned. I know you are tired, but next part is
No, no,
Q&A
I'm
session.
staying here. I would just like you to step in and join and like share more about the course so that
Uh,
candidates can know about it.
Okay, so about the course and then go to the Q&A session?
Yeah, yeah, we
All
can do
right,
the
then
Q&A at the
perfect.
end.
Sure, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Of course, always thank you for coming and joining us and for your valuable insights about ADAT. All right, so now as for the ADAT packages at ConfiDentist, we have three packages. So the first one is the comprehensive one. So if you have not taken AFK before or you are not ready for ADAT, we recommend comprehensive course, which is 4 months. So I go in details in the further slide, but the last two packages are for the candidates who have already taken AFK or they are familiar with clinical skills actually. Because comprehensive includes clinical skills, BMS and EBD, but the last two packages are only BMS and EBD. Here in details, you can see the comprehensive is 4 month long, and we have 50 online sessions. It's hybrid, live and pre-recorded. We have 3 Q&A sessions and 10 BMS subject-wise quizzes, 10 clinical subject-wise quizzes, one EBD mini mock exam, and after all, um, for online mock exam with discussions. These are, like I said, for the candidates who have not taken AFK before and they're not familiar with the content and they need to go through clinical science as well. Clinical science, sorry, I said clinical skills, clinical science. So the second package is BMS. Um, the difference between BMS and another module, we have two packages in this term, excluding, first of all, clinical science, but they only include BMS and EBD. The difference between these two is one of them is only pre-recorded and another one is only not only hybrid, pre-recorded and live. So BMS package is 2 months long, includes 20 online sessions or pre-recorded sessions, one Q&A session, 10 BMS subject-wise quizzes, and one EBD mini mock exam. Um, and needless to mention that for the comprehensive, uh, we have early bird discount right now. So the price used to be, let me open this. The price used to be um, $4,200, but now for early bird is $39.99 dollars. And For the crash package is $2,200, and for the last package, which is pre-recorded, is $1,600. All right. I guess I mentioned everything about the course, right, doctor? I do I need to? Oh, and the course begins in November 1st. November 1st is the start of the course. So if you would like to have like tailor your schedule, or you would like to know more about your case, how to start, how to schedule your time, you can book an appointment like for instructors or mentorship, and that one is also possible. Yeah, I guess that's it. So let me see. What is this? Okay. Standout features of Comfy, that course, quick
So
run.
here I've tried to mention the standout features of ConfiDentist course, which I felt like which really helped me to back the score. So firstly, quick concept review. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a vast ocean of information that you need to cover. And to cover that in a stipulated amount of time, I think this course benefited me a great deal because I was able to cover key concepts in like 3 months, all the three sections covered, and I don't think you can get a better deal than this. Next is strong foundation building. So if you feel like I mentioned, I have given you a breakdown of the sections which are going to be tested in this exam. So what I felt was like I didn't have that grasp on anatomic sciences, on uh, biochemistry, pathology. Like those topics were something which I studied back in first year of my graduation. So I felt like those topics I was a bit rusty in, and that's why I took the decision to enroll for this course, and which worked out pretty tremendously. Third is mocks and mini mocks. I can't stress enough how important it is to test yourself. And like I've mentioned earlier, that practice is the key to ace this exam. And mocks and mini mocks will get you to your target score, like consistent practice, consistently knowing what your shortcomings are, and this will also allow you to focus more on subjects where you feel like you're lacking in, and also will help you to bridge the gaps in your information. Lastly, recorded lectures. These are a game changer, especially for revision. So I used to revisit the lectures at 2x speed just to revise what all we have covered in the lecture. And you have like access to the lectures which the instructors will be giving, and you can revisit them at your own convenience sitting at your home, and this will actually benefit you a lot because this makes revision so much easier. And lastly, but not the least, personalized mentorship. So during this course, I had a personal mentor whom I can share all my doubts, my fears, what all I was experiencing while preparing for this exam, all. And the doubts not only used to be about how to prepare, but how if I was feeling overwhelmed or something wasn't just clicking, then I it was like she was my personal therapist for that point of time, and you actually need one while you're preparing for this journey. So mentorship is one of the key highlights of this course. You will get a personal mentor with whom you can share all your doubts and fears with. And lastly, so feel free to drop in your queries. I'm open to answering any questions that you have or anything which you'd like me to further tell you about.
Doctor, do you mind if I read the questions because doctors have already written down
Okay,
their
okay. Yeah,
questions
sure,
and you
sure.
answer. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you. Okay. So the first question is general anatomy important in the anatomical sciences option portion?
Like I said, general anatomy is important, but your focus should be more on head and neck anatomy. So, what I'm trying to say here is because people they just get so lost in refining what they have no clue about, and they just give up what they already know. So, first, have a thorough grasp of head and neck topics because you will definitely get a question from those sections. There might be two or three questions pertaining to general anatomy too, but what I'm trying to focus on is that you just can't lose all your time focusing on general anatomy and giving up head and neck instead. So and I would like to clear that during the course, you'll be taught everything, like whole anatomy will be covered, and the instructors will also make sure to highlight what all are the key topics and what you should be focusing more on. But that just doesn't mean you have to undermine general anatomy. The key here is to have a balance. Like head and neck is very, very important, but if you have extra time, you have to know everything that's mentioned in your notes and everything about general anatomy. And if you have extra time, you can dive deeper into those topics just to enhance your knowledge.
All right. Thank you so
I
much.
hope it answered your question.
Thank you, doctor. So the second question is, do you have any recommendation for YouTube channels?
Yeah, I have some recommendations. I have mentioned a few channels in the presentation also. But for anatomy, I would suggest what I followed. Like, I'm going to share what I personally followed. For anatomy, I followed Osmosis. There was this channel called Ninja Nerd, and also another channel named Medicosis Perfectionalis. So these were the three channels I mostly referred to, and they have great visual animations which can make things easier to understand.
Yeah, we'll drop the link right in the end, probably. or write it down for them. I don't know if it's necessary or not.
Uh,
But later we can
okay.
write them down for them
Yeah, I
in the
can
text,
write it down for
in the
you.
meeting chat.
Yeah,
No?
I can leave it in the chats. Okay.
Yeah, in the
That'll
chat.
be a better option.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
So the next question is, did you do only the ADAT course at ConfiDentist? And did you do the AFK course before too?
So yeah, I was preparing for my AFK exam earlier, before preparing for the ADAT exam.
Mhm.
But while preparing for the AFK exam, I felt like I'm more inclined towards the university pathway. So I didn't really appear for the AF exam. And this is like the first North American exam I actually appeared for in my life. Like I hadn't taken AFK, ACJ, or even the INBD before this.
Okay. Yeah. So then you're asked where can we practice clinical questions from?
So as I mentioned, you'll be having mocks and mini mocks, which are going to be included in this course. But other than that, you can also refer to other resources like there was ADAT Knockout, which I referred to. And also there's boot camp, but I won't surely recommend it because I don't have any personal experience with it. But this is what I'm telling about other candidates which they followed and they got good results too.
Also, I guess if you are looking for clinical questions as well, you need to take the comprehensive course for
Yeah.
sure. Is that right? Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes.
So next one is how many hours did you sleep usually? I mean, yeah.
So I know most people won't believe this, but I used to sleep for 9 hours.
Very good. Sleep is very important
Because
actually.
it's very important. Trust me, if you're gonna be sitting down to study for 4 to 5 hours and then after that solving questions to even revising at the end of the day, you need at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Like you can't compromise on that.
Yeah. And so just refresh your mind, and that's of great importance. Yeah.
Yes.
So next question is, can we finish any section early and can take longer break?
Yeah, so that happened with me too because biomedical sciences section was something wherein you had to answer 80 questions in 95 minutes. So I was able to answer 80 questions in around 80 minutes. So I had 15 minutes to spare. So I took an unscheduled break and combined it with the another optional break and I took an half an hour long break and re-energized and revitalized myself, and that's how I was able to go through the clinical sciences section with a fresher mind.
Okay. Mm. Okay, so shall we go to the next question, which is can we allocate remaining time from one section if we finish that early to the other section?
No, that's not possible because there's a timer, and once you've actually finished one section, there's an option that you have to submit that section, and you won't be able to revisit that particular section again. And that also goes for the flagged questions. You have to go through them before submitting. So make sure that you have revisited all your flagged questions, marked your correct answers for those questions, and then you click on submit, and then that section will be submitted and you won't be able to revisit it. Then it will automatically show the option of a break, which is up to you if you want to go for it or not, or you can just skip the break option and then it will automatically proceed to the next section.
Okay. I guess next question has to do with this as well. Our schedule break means we have to finish that section and can't access again and resume where we left. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
A question on a schedule break means we have to finish that section and can't access again or resume where we left.
So that's, yeah, you can at least, I mean, I would suggest that you submit it and then go for an unscheduled break, because if you leave it like that, the clock will keep on ticking and it will resubmit it on its own. So it's better that you have made sure that you have answered everything and everything is all right. And then you click on submit, and then you can ask the supervisor to give you an unscheduled break, and they will
ये
allow you.
बार बार चेंज क्यों हो रहा है? जियाना का कनेक्ट हो गया.
Sorry, Dr. Mahajan, would you please repeat your question again? Um,
I think her mic was on by mistake. We
oh, okay,
can
all
see.
right, got it.
Yeah.
So next question is about IELTS score. Do you have any tips about IELTS?
So yeah, once you're done with your ADAT, you will have to give your IELTS exam, because most of the universities they ask for it. It's like a basic requirement once you're going to apply to universities. I mean, I had very less time to prepare for it because I wanted to apply to University of Toronto, and I just had time of at least 3 weeks to give for preparation. So I took my exam 2 weeks after I gave my ADAT exam, and in those 2 weeks, I think I referred to resources from British Council. I think that was enough to polish my skills and just give me a quick run through of everything that needs to be covered for the exam.
Got it. Doctor, did you take AFK before?
No, as I answered, this was the first exam that I took. I
Okay.
was initially planning on taking the AFK this Feb 2025, but then I shifted my focus onto ADAT.
Got it. So another question is about if you have seen any like cases before who have taken AFK before and it was enough for them to pass ADAT.
I would say there were a few candidates like those, but they had a degree of MPH or something related to the field of biostats, because they were able to get a very high score in biostats section. And I'd say to not risk it, because this is something which is out there. Like if you have given AFK, just sit for ADAT and it's going to cover you. No, because these two exams are so different in their structure and even the approach that you have to uh, get a good score. And I would not personally recommend sitting for the ADAT without actually dedicating time and actually following a structured approach, uh, which is streamlined to this particular exam.
Doctor, yeah, doctor, you, how was your score for IELTS, Dr. Navdeep?
I scored an 8.5.
What? Wow, great. Perfect. So another question is, how different is the exam from in,
INBD, I think it's
yeah.
INBD. So I haven't really taken the INBD exam, but what I've heard is that INBD is a bit straightforward, and ADAT, the concepts are similar, I would say, but they just dive deeper into the understanding of those concepts. Like, and just be prepared, there are going to be some weird questions which are going to come on the exam, and that they are just to throw you off. And I feel like just don't get too stuck on answering those questions right, and in turn losing marks on what you actually know. So I think INBD is more straightforward, whereas ADAT requires a bit of more deeper understanding of those same concepts. So you can say it's a bit tougher version of INBD.
Oh, okay. So, doctor, how important is the IELTS score
I mean,
for entering the school?
I don't know. I'm still in that pathway. I'm still applying to dental schools in Canada, and I don't actually have much knowledge about how different universities consider each aspect of your profile. Once I get into a dental school, I can actually guide you better.
Okay, so have you been to any interview yet? For
No.
you?
So for this cycle, right now, most universities are accepting applications.
Mhm.
As of now, I think University of Toronto is closed and they'll be uh, inviting candidates for interview in October, this October.
Mhm.
And the other universities, their application cycle is still open and they're accepting applications as for now.
Wish you all the best and luck. I'm sure you're gonna make the best one. I mean,
Thank you
so
so much.
everything is obvious, so why not? So, doctor, do we have another question? Can we work as the dentist in by graduating from Canadian universities? Um, yeah, but Los Angeles? You mean LA? Can we work as a dentist in LA by graduating from Canadian universities?
I think yes, but you have to take a few exams. Like there are licensing exams for you to get a license to practice in a particular state in the US, and you have to sit for those exams, and once you clear that, then you're good to practice.
Okay. What's your GPA?
Also, my GPA, according to the ECE evaluation, my GPA was 3.8.
Very good. Okay. So do you think it's important to take IELTS course?
I mean, I didn't personally go for one, also because I didn't have much time. And I think it's up to you. If you feel like you need one, then go for it. Like if you want to brush up on your conversation skills, communication skills, then you can go for one. But I just enrolled onto the British Council website, and there they give you all the free resources which you can practice on, and I think that was enough to cover for me.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? Sayed Wali, can you speak briefly about financial aids once you get an admission in any university?
I'm sorry, I don't have much knowledge about that as of now.
Okay. Yeah, for this one, probably we can, in the future, we're gonna have another webinar about like university interviews and university things
Yeah,
specifically.
so
So,
we can
yeah,
just save it for another webinar.
yes, thank you. All right, another question. Um, any topics to draw important charts before starting exam?
Okay, this is a very good question. Yeah, so they will give you a laminated sheet and a marker wherein you can take down some notes while you're answering questions. So what I did, they give you 15 minutes of a survey or something, like a run through of how the exam is gonna be. And during those 15 minutes, I just jot down all the important formulas or the things that I thought were important for me to answer questions, or what I felt like this could be on the exam, or this is what something I might forget or get confused in. So for anatomy, I drew the occlusion picket fence. That's very important because you might get a question from that. And other than that, I think anatomy is very theoretical. You just don't have to any draw any charts for it. And also some questions from occlusion, which needs a few visual representation. So I draw a few diagrams pertaining to those. For the clinical sciences, you can write down I think for perio, you can write down the staging grading of each uh, of periodontic diseases, because you might get a question from those. Also, you can write about in ortho angles, SNB, SNA angle, what are their mean values, just just if that pops up on your exam. And for endo, I don't think there's much you can draw. For biostats, surely you have a lot of formulas, so you can just write those down just for you to have an easier look, and you can know like this is how this answer should be answered.
All right. Let me see. I have a 6.5 IELTS score. Is it gonna be a problem to enter the university?
Honestly, I'm not on the admissions committee, so I have no clue about this. I think 6.5 is a cutoff for most universities, and if you're above the cutoff, you will definitely get an invite for the interview if your score is good. And if you ace the interview and your overall profile is good, I think you have a fair chance.
I guess, just comparatively, you think about the priorities, like the ADAT score is more important or IELTS score? Of course, ADAT score, right?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, they look at your ADAT score first, and then they take in account other factors pertaining to your profile.
Mhm.
And also, it's different for different universities. Some universities have different guidelines laid out. For example, for McGill, they have a French requirement. So obviously, they don't care much about your IELTS score. They will take into account whether you know French or not.
Okay, so I got a question. So, like, um, for the like we have the ADAT score, and it is like work experience important to them, you think, or
Uh, as of now, what I know for University of Toronto, they don't ask for your resume or any such thing. And for other universities, they do ask for your resume. And I think it's important to highlight what all you've done throughout all these years. But I don't really think that they focus solely on that aspect. So, as I mentioned earlier, they will just look at your entire profile as a whole and take into account different factors and compare those factors to other candidates. And then it all comes down to the admission committee. I don't know what all guidelines they've laid out, but I don't think we can just sit here make any guesses about it. But I think it's surely important to highlight all your achievements and all the clinical research you've done, anything important that you have achieved throughout your life. You must mention that on your resume if your university asks for one.
right? So, any other exam other than like IELTS is accepted, like I don't know, CELPIP or
So for this, I
TOEFL?
would recommend going to the university page. So they have mentioned each and everything that they need from you. So different universities have different requirements, and they accept different exams, especially for English proficiency. So I would recommend taking a look at website of each universities that you're planning on to enroll for.
Okay, contact me anytime. So I will. You can talk with us about it. We are flexible for you to make it for you, to support you. And because you are important for us, because like your win is our win, you know that. And so please keep in touch. And if you have any other questions, you can ask me if you would like to register or you want assistance in anything, or you want like personalized mentor, you need a mentorship. I can also make an appointment for you, help you with that, either with Dr. Kaur or with Dr. Hannah.
I
It's an
would like
honor
to
to work
thank
with
you
you.
and ConfiDentist team for giving me this platform to share my insights and my journey with all of you today.
Of course, it's our
So
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
I had a wonderful time going through my journey once again.
You're welcome. So everyone, once again, thank you so much for coming. And I don't want to take your time more. So have a great weekend and take care. Be safe. Keep in touch. Okay.
Thank